Hello, welcome back. It is week 151 on Out on That Line podcast. I'm Jeff with my co-host Alex as always, and we also have a special little guest this week, our buddy Tanner, for his first, I believe it's his first regular current album review episode. Done plenty of the On the Record, some of the other kind of spin-off stuff we do, but I think this is the first that you get to do a current album with us.
Yeah, this is the first video and current album. I mean, You've done videos with me, but video mainstream pod episode with Jeff.
Yeah, a lot of boxes are getting checked.
A lot of lore.
A lot of boxes are getting checked. And so how you doing, Tanner?
I'm very good. Thank you for having me, by the way. Thank you for coming back. You guys have cultivated a great space here to talk tunes, talk music. And no, I'm feeling pretty good. Very, very excited for the little sojourn we're about to take. And yeah, I'm amped up. I'm very
we are very happy to have you. And since it is kind of an episode of firsts, there's another first that I wanted to address here on Out on That Line. We have never had an intervention on this show before. We've had plenty of mea culpas, but this will be the first intervention. So I'm going to read a letter here today. Hey, Tanner. I hope you're doing well. I wanted to reach out because I've noticed you've been listening to a lot of Fish lately. And I'm a bit concerned about how much time you're spending on it. When I would go into our group chat in the past, I could expect to see the usual fucking with Reno. And that's something very important to the fabric of the group. However, recently there's been a lot of Fish talk and even worse, Fish praise. Now, I understand that music can be a great way to unwind and find enjoyment. However, when a band makes music strictly to do nitrous to, it might be worth considering there's a balance that could be helpful. I understand the Vegas Sphere show could be looked at as a great experience, but that is exactly what the members of the Heaven's Gate cult felt about their first meeting with Marshall Applewhite. I don't need to tell you what it did to those members or the reputation of Kool-Aid. I care about you and your well-being, Tanner, and I'm wondering if there are other interests or activities you might want to explore. Sometimes diversifying our hobbies can bring new experiences and enrich our lives in different ways. You could try underwater basket weaving, driving the wrong way on the interstate, or simply stubbing your toe on purpose. All of those will bring you more value than Trey and his merry band of Wookiees. I'm here to support you, Tanner, and I want to make sure you're finding fulfillment in all aspects of your life. Sincerely, your friend Jeff.
My turn now? My turn
Yes.
Now? I don't write nothing down, so I'll keep this brief. You're weak. You're out of control, and you've become an embarrassment to yourself and everybody else. I said my piece, Tanner.
You might have just had your first live piss of pants on the show if I wasn't able to pull it together. I appreciate the concern. I know it's coming from a place of love, but nothing's going to stop me from putting Fish into my bloodstream. I listened to 2 albums on the drive today. What do you think about that?
Oh my God, he's out of control.
It's past help. I think we're good. I think we need to call Mitch in for this.
I will say, in my defense, I try to do it tongue in cheek in the group text. Little winky faces, little tongue out emojis. And I just burped. For camp this year, I asked Alex if people would be pissed if I brought Fish records, and he said probably. So I didn't bring any. I didn't even bring any.
I couldn't even make myself. I was like, listen.
I knew what the answer was going to be. I just had to ask the question.
You do. You have to ask. But it's just, how did we get here? Grateful Dead, Gateway Drug. And there was that one time you had that string cheese incident.
Had many of those, only one involving the band.
None of mine with cheese. Weird.
Yeah. But heavy on incident. I mean, yeah, I think the Gateway was just the Vegas. I think that's what it is. You know, when I was there, way too stoned, and they played a song for 30 minutes that I needed to end after like 3. Once you sweat that out, it's all downhill. They played this song. It's called Fuego, and they made it look like the whole inside of the sphere was on fire. And I was up there like, we're all gonna die in here. These people around here are having such a good time. They don't even know.
Well,
They don't even know.
everybody in there is going to die. And probably some of them have, since it's been a little while since that show.
Yeah, we got to update the newsletter.
Oh, well, that went far better than expected. I kind of like doing interventions. We got to find more reasons for that.
It is. When you were reading your letter, I was like, what does it say about our friend group that you're really good at this?
I know. Well, the first part, I was like, oh man, is this like, what did I do? I knew it was coming. I knew it was coming at me, whatever was happening. And I was like, wow, man, what's been going down? Oh, right. Yeah. Okay.
And that was all Chat GPT, baby.
Was it really?
Yeah, for the basic framework. I threw my own little, my own embellishments in there. All the specific references. Yeah, but it was all, and I just said, write me a letter of somebody that's too obsessed with fish.
Yeah, and I basically said, well, The Sopranos, so
yeah,
I'll be lazy and dunkarooning.
Well, what do you fellas say that we talk a little bit of Johnny Blue Skies?
Never heard of him.
Hey, who's that?
I think that's part of the reason that if you look up Sturgill Simpson, you will find Johnny Blue Skies and the new album. Let me try to make sure I pronounce this right. Passage du Desir. Very interesting title. Very interesting idea to switch to this Blondie Blue Skies, this Johnny Blue Skies persona. So apparently the idea was that there was only going to be 5 Sturgill Simpson albums. Like that was kind of his whole plan. I don't know why you choose to why you don't pick the different name for that. Maybe choose Johnny Blue Skies for like that 5 album run and then become, your real name for the rest of it. So it's a little bit weird, but it's also like you search for either one, you're going to find it wherever you search for it. So caveat in advance to this episode, all of us are going to say Sturgill when we mean to say Johnny Blue Skies. I promise you that. That's the out on line guarantee. We are going to make that mistake. Just get over it now, and we can move on smoothly through the rest of the episode. So I myself have been a big time Sturgill fan for quite some time now. I believe the Genesis was around the same time that Alex was too, because I think we got that Sailor's Guide to Earth album, and that was all she wrote down here in Austin, Texas.
Yeah, it's absolutely right. I remember very fondly. It was like right when I first got there, because you got the jump on me by like a month or two. So when I got down there, I just have these fond memories of going to Sound City. Is that what it was called?
The Sound Gallery.
The Sound Gallery.
Yeah.
Sound City's the recording studio.
R.I.P.
R.I.P. We went there. You ended up buying that album. We went back and we drugged the speakers for the turntable out onto our little shitty concrete patio so we could listen while we were making fajitas on the grill outside on a beautiful Texas day.
Yes.
Talk about making an impression.
That album, Sailor's Guide to Earth, there's a reason that I brought up that experience specifically, because as I listened to this album, this felt to me like a spiritual successor kind of thing, especially that first track. Like I went back and listened to I think Breaker's Roar, I think is the first. And the beginning of that, it's like you hear the chimes, the buoys banging away. And this album starts very much of that kind of slow fade in, and really felt like, for lack of a better word, or my ability to describe it, felt like very nautical, just like Sailor's Guide to Earth did. So that's the reason I brought that up specifically. Now he's done a whole bunch of stuff. Had a couple albums before that, a few after that. Did like a remake album, the Cut and Grass series, Volume 1 and Volume 2. So like Sturgill's been out there producing albums, like doing a whole bunch of stuff. Tanner, I'm interested to hear about what your experience with getting into Sturgill was. Where did you come in on his album cycle?
It was because of you guys. It was It was Sailor's Guide to Earth. After you guys moved to Texas, I believe when Mitch and I went down there, we listened to it at one point. But I will be honest, and in his comparative discography, Metamodern Sounds and Country Music is the one that really was the first one that really resonated with me. And then in the more recent years, going back and listening to High Top Mountain. And that,
oh yeah,
so like it's kind of like
some
a
good
weird
old honk,
reverse.
baby.
Yeah, it's like a weird reverse like appreciation for him. Like I got into it on Sailor's Guide, and I was like, it's pretty good. And then Metamodern hooked me, and then I didn't get to High Top Mountain until they repressed it on vinyl a few years ago. I got some email, and I was like, "I'll listen to it on Spotify." And I got like 3 songs in. I was like, "Yeah, bye."
Ding.
Yeah. Like that's an immediate purchase. And a thing I'll say about Sturgill, Johnny, Simpson, Blue Skies is there are some people that are in like my Facebook friend group that I don't like communicate with very often in person. Let's say maybe once a year. We'll give one guy in particular a shout out, Paul Grenier, who I will send him this and be like, "You got to listen now. We got to listen to talk about you."
You should have buried that at the end.
Yeah,
I had to listen to the whole thing.
His dad,
money.
His dad and my dad played hockey together all through life. Whatever. I see him once a year at this golf tournament, but he has got good music taste. And like what his, like he posted a few years ago, he's like, your favorite country artist listens to Sturgill. Like Sturgill is what everyone's like. He's like the, the straw that stirs the drink right now. Like his influence is that big. You might not see it on the front end, but like, and that really stood out to me as well. Like he's your favorite country guy's favorite country guy.
Yeah.
Or gal.
I mean, he was the producer of Purgatory and Country Squire by Tyler Childers. I mean, so he's championed a lot of artists. I think he did a Margot Price album, if I'm not mistaken, as well. So he's championed a version of country music that I find is where I find home in country music. Artists like him, Zach Bryan recently, who is excellent. If you folks haven't gone and checked that out, you certainly should. But Sturgill for me is the creme de la creme when it comes to country artists. And there's a few of his albums that you wouldn't even call a country album, really. Sound and Fury, absolutely not a country album, but maybe my favorite Sturgill album, just because it's so different. You got High Top Mountain, Metamodern Sounds, Sailor's Guide to Earth, and then he does Sound and Fury and releases an anime to go along with it. I mean, just like such a wild departure. Like you never hear about artists doing that sort of thing, just like completely, not only like expanding boundaries, like completely just jumping to another version of music. I mean, it was really pretty incredible. And it was always striking to me. I love the Ballad of Dude and Juanita. That album is absolutely fantastic. Great storyline. Again, another one you folks should go listen to. But I think where Sturgill would probably say he shines the most is the just straight up songwriting with that kind of country hint. Because there's a lot of these songs on this new album, the Johnny Blue Skies album, that there's a few that are some good old like classic country western, but there's a few of them like Jupiter's Ferry, that I would not really call a country song. Maybe the sentiment, sure, but that, not like the structure of it or the instrumentation of it. I mean, it's a gorgeous song, and it doesn't surprise me that he would do a song like that. But I just really love that he doesn't keep himself so like cement shoed into the genre. Like it's always going to be an influence for him, but it doesn't have to be the only influence.
Yeah, and I think songs for me like Scooter Blues and Jupiter's Ferry and all that kind of stuff, they're so, the kind of like jarring experience I had when I first listened to it was, I don't know. I don't know if it works. I don't know if the Scooter song works for me. It's a little too goofy, like Eggo waffles, don't step on a Lego, chocolate milk. I'm like, I don't know. It seems a little too Jimmy Buffett for my taste. But then
I think that was the idea.
Well, and that's the thing is like you realize it in the context of the whole thing, which is this great quote that I read from somebody else, to give him credit, but it took becoming Johnny Blue Skies for Sturgill Simpson to be the most like himself he's ever been.
Mhm.
This is that like private and public thing we talk about where he's able to be more honest about these things because he just literally put a different name on it. And it wasn't like he needed it to be a license to change his sound. I think it changed. His lyrics became very simple because you have something like life ain't fair and the world is mean. You have, I mean, pick any two words
Mhm.
juxtaposed in Turtles All the Way Down. Like one of his strong suits has always been like these very evocative lyrics. And he kind of took his foot off the gas with the prosaic nature of it. And now it's like he's speaking much more plainly.
Mhm.
And I think it's because he feels comfortable under this other persona. This is like his Thin White Duke, David
Yeah.
Bowie,
Mhm.
you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I
Yeah.
really I think what I think Jupiter's Ferry is the one that kind of is blowing people's minds right now just because it's, I mean, gorgeous song. And then you have a song like One for the Road to end the album. It's like 9 minutes long or something. And
Yeah.
like, when did he turn into Meatloaf? And that song, it just goes. Like, it doesn't feel like a 9 minute song because he's so talented at getting you just as involved in the song as he was writing it. I think that's something he's, if you love country music or you love just songwriting in general, like Sturgill is somebody that's going to do that to you. Now I wonder, I should have looked this up. I should have thought of doing it. It just came to my mind. The musicians on this album, because I know he more wanted to be part of a collective. Like that was his idea with doing Johnny Blue Skies. Um, are they the same musicians as were on Sailor's Guide to Earth, or is this a different crew? Because a lot of it sounded like the mix was kind of the same, you know, the production was kind of the same as that album, and not trying to say it's a bad thing at all, because obviously that's the album we've all said is the one that got us into him in the first place. But I'd be interested to see like if it's the same musicians or if there's some crossover. Not at all.
No, there's some Sturgill Simpsons on both records. Um, the steel guitar player,
I am.
Dan Dugmore, is the same on both records, and that's
David Ferguson he mixed both of these.
Okay, that's I knew there had to be something in common, like not just the fact that it's Sturgill, like there had to be something in common because the other albums didn't really sound like this. And again, it's a good thing because that's a great album. I think I like what you were saying, Alex, about it being a lot more like straightforward in kind of how he's expressing himself. I think the song like Scooter Blues is like a really, really great example of that. And I'm totally blanking on the name. It's on High Top Mountain. It's the one that Post Malone covered, but he talks about trying to rhyme with Bronco. You know what I mean? So, like he's
What the
never
hell rhymes with Bronco?
he's never been like against the goofy stuff. You know, he's definitely done it in the past. Like they call me King Turd up here on Ship Mountain. If you want,
Yeah.
you can have the crown. I mean, like he's got a history of being a little goofy. So that didn't surprise me as much. But what surprised me is it sounded goofy, but there was some like real stuff to that one. You know, there was some real like he might not have been expressing these crazy deep emotions and stuff, but all these things that he's talking about doing are because he's probably having crazy deep emotions and that's how he's dealing with it. And that's what I really appreciate is it wasn't hard to unpack. You know, you could pay attention on the first listen to that production value because it wasn't tough to like figure out. There weren't all these nautical metaphors that you had to like figure out how that related to his life and like is he talking about himself or his son, you know, whatever it might be. A lot easier to get that stuff except for a couple spots. So something like Jupiter's Ferry, there's definitely some more of that kind of old Sturgill in how he presents those lyrics.
Mm-hmm.
One I really, really loved it. If the Sun Never Rises Again, like very sad song, but incredible song. It really, that was the one, that's probably the one that I'm going to consider. I would say my favorite. If I'm going to go back and listen to a song on the album and if I can only pick one, I guess that would be the one I'll go back and click play on. The other ones are great. If I have time, I'll listen to the whole thing, but it's, to me, that was the one that I guess was least like Sturgill and how I'd heard him in the past, and one I enjoyed the most. I don't know if it's because of that, but it just could be a coincidence.
It was like a banging blues song, and I love it, and I love this album. But if I've got one gripe about this song, and one small gripe about the album, happens twice. You referenced it in our group chat. That fucking triangle. We got to talk about that for a minute. Take the floor.
Triangle. It's once you notice it's there, you can't. It's all you hear. It's all you fixate on.
In an amazing song.
I know.
That song gets cooking, and you're like, yeah, and then just ding, 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 ding.
It comes in because the thing is, it's not in the whole time. And when it comes in, you're like, what, why?
We got to get him to release a remix.
Just
No Triangle remix.
Just mute that track. Yeah.
Yeah.
Triangles in general, let's say, folks. Put them away.
Well, you
Put
are
them away.
You are a percussionist.
Yeah, you ain't gonna find no triangle on dangling on my kit. I just think back to friend of the pod, Mitch, when we were in middle school band, and he played in percussion for some reason. The man with no natural rhythm, and we played the Pink Panther theme song, and they put him on the triangle part. And you'd think, ting, 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 would be easy. We're performing it in front of all our parents. 5 measures in, ting, 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 ting.
Because you know he went into panic mode.
Yeah, Mr. Salt pointing at him with the conductor stick, trying to get him to find the beat.
Oh,
Yeah, and
beautiful.
again, triangles are fine, like classically and stuff. It's like if a song has like a cowbell in it that's overwhelming the whole time. It's the same kind of thing. It's like, you're kind of taken away, like, because this song is so good. And and if you can go to the other side and you can block the triangle out, then you live in some magical space.
See, I don't even notice the triangle.
Oh, I envy
in that
you.
song. I went back and listened for it, and I mean,
almost
like
drove off
obviously
the
I heard
road.
it, but it just didn't. I think I already liked this song well enough because I didn't notice that first. That it was just like, well, we're not gonna let that play into how I feel about it. Because
Maybe it's like cilantro.
I'll tell you what it is for me. I have tinnitus,
Mhm.
and so every single time they hit that triangle, it's just like a dog whistle, just oh goodness. Because he does it on If the Sun Never Rises Again, and is it Right Kind of Dream or Mint Tea? I can't remember.
I want to say it's
mint
mint
tea.
tea. Yeah.
Okay. Because it happens,
Yeah.
I'm like, oh no, it's happening
coming.
again.
It's happening.
Oh, my
again.
tinnitus.
he just wanted to get you one more time before the end of it.
Well, they
Yeah.
hired the triangle player for 3 hours, and it only took him 20 minutes to do it for Sun Never Rises Again. So they said, hey, let him loose on mint tea. Why not?
Yeah, hop on
Fuck
another
it.
one.
Yeah.
Who played? Do they have the credits on there? Who played?
Yeah, I
the
was just
triangle?
about to ask you.
Yeah.
Fred Eldringham is listed as drums and percussion. So it would have
See,
to be
that
him.
sounds made up. That's like in Mr. Deeds when it's like Winchesterton Fieldville.
Yes.
Like that name sounds made up.
Oh,
That guy's
he
not
was-
real.
Oh, whoa.
Tanner's got a tidbit here.
Whoa.
Breaking news.
I overrate. He but he's not showing up here. Am I mistaken? Oh, he played drums in the Wallflowers from 03 to 2011.
He's
Oh,
a
so-
late wallflower.
So when people cared about the Wallflowers the most.
No, I think that was 1996.
Yeah.
And then me and you in your car just playing One Headlight over and over
Yeah.
again.
Hell yeah, brother.
Yeah. Bring Down the House. Great fucking album, by the way.
Bringing down the horse.
Yeah, horse, right.
Come on
Damn
now.
it. Damn
Come on
these
now.
Bissels.
You've been doing too much nitrous. Listen too much to that
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
Burning down the horse.
One quick nitrous aside. Just a quick, because you brought up the nitrous earlier. I went and saw, you're gonna hate this. I went and saw Bob Weir and Wolf Brothers last year with Pete and my mom and Brandon Martin. Brandon couldn't get there till later. We were tailgating with my mom and Pete in my mom's camper. Her coworkers came over. We're hanging out in there. We're drinking some beers, maybe a little grass. And I had a perfect view into the lot of people selling nitrous from inside the safety of the camper. And this guy's walking back towards us. He's probably like 10 feet away, holding his balloon, so happy. He puts it up to his face to take a hit, and it literally explodes in his face. And I'm the only person that saw it. Like nobody else saw it, and I'm dying. And he's just like, there's like shrapnel on his head hanging down, and he just turns in his stance. Perfect 180 degrees, walks back, gets another one.
If it ain't bigger than your head, it won't put you to bed.
I just can't. It's watching some of the documentaries. Didn't what was it? Channel 5? Was that the guy?
Oh, yeah.
That was in the fish lot
Fish
or whatever?
lot.
Okay, big time fish digression here in the lore, because that was the thing. When that first came out, you and I watched it together, and boy, did we shit on fish and fish fans
Destroyed them
mercilessly, because there's this great scene with Lance Bangs where he explains everything that's wrong with fish. He's like, it doesn't rock, it doesn't swing, it doesn't groove. It sounds like music that was made by the sons of dentists who used the proceeds from nitrous to buy cocaine. And then he's like, that sounds mean. Can I try that again? I'm like, no, you're fine. Don't take it again.
Yeah, that was perfect. That's a perfect way to describe it to me. But we can get back to the Sturgill before we keep making Tanner.
Johnny Blue Sky, actually.
I told you. I promised the viewers. Okay, so again, that was just to prove to you out on that line keeps our promises. Okay, like I told you it was going to happen, and it happened. We keep our promises, so you can trust us. Tanner, what would you say was your favorite song on the album?
It's tough. It's a toss up. I'm a big fan of big moments in songs. So I guess
I know where you're going.
Favorite song, just like by itself, is One for the Road.
Mm-hmm.
It's so like Allman Brothers to me, and I'm listening to a lot of them lately. That I had to check my phone when I was listening to this the first time because I was driving to see if it was an Allman Brothers song that had just come up automatically after the album ended. Because the port on my phone broke, so I can't use CarPlay anymore. So I have to Bluetooth it because I'm poor. But the moment when the strings come in on Jupiter's Ferry,
yeah,
that's for me a big strings guy. Part of this album was recorded at Abbey Road Studios. I can bet that was what was recorded there, because like that's the place where people have their string parts recorded. That song is great when he finally kicks into the chorus. It's so like elating and it's so lifting. And I'll be honest, my first listen through this album, I only took one song off it and put it onto a separate playlist. And that song was Scooter Blues.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yep.
But again, that was just on first listen because then Jupiter's Ferry comes up right after it. And then I was like, okay, well, that one too. That one's going to go on the playlist
you can get into,
Yeah, you go.
Yeah, Jupiter's Ferry is just just a stupid good song. I guess easy thing to do here. We go over, it's just the way it starts. For some reason today I thought of you, thought I'd look you up and see what you'd been up to. How long's it been? 10 years or maybe more since I told you not to call me, shut you out, and close the door. And it's just, kind of exactly where this song is going to be going. One, by the instrumentation, like, this is not going to be a happy one, not going to be a fun journey we're about to go on. But it is going to be meaningful, and it's going to be something that you're probably going to be able to relate to, because all you have to do to relate to this song is you have to have disappointed somebody and then seen them again at some point in your life. Like, kind of, that's all you need to do to relate to this one, and it's going to hit right dead center for you. I love the strings in it. That's something, again, that brings you back to that Sailor's Guide to Earth album, because that's definitely, he's obviously hasn't like cutting grass, he's got a fiddle and stuff like that in there, but not the same way that you have like orchestral style strings in this one. It's really, what I like is everything is so tasteful. It's like everything fits, everything belongs where it is in this song. Especially the strings. And I wonder like how much of a musical genius he is. Like, that's what gets me, is when an artist brings in something like strings or a full choir or something like that, and then it all works perfectly, and you're like, oh, I guess they know more about like music theory and the construction of this whole thing than I probably was giving them credit for. It's just really, I think this album in general is a pretty incredible accomplishment, as far as the lyrical, the musical, and just overall the structure of it. I felt like there was no point in the album that I felt like it dragged. And for an album that goes pretty slow most of the time, as far as the types of songs he's playing, that's a really pretty incredible thing. Because if you remember that Haley Williams album, Alex, we always bring it up as kind of the gold standard of what not to do with an album like this.
Yeah, the gold standard of solipsism. And I love Haley Williams and I love Paramore, but that was just like an emotionally tough one, I think, in the wrong way, because something like Jupiter's Fairy, I'm tempted to say that's my favorite because he really makes you work for it. It starts and you're like, where's this go? It's kind of a while before that chorus kicks in.
It is.
The antithesis to that is there's this song Other Side by Perfume Genius, and I think I played it for you where it's like, on the other side, and like these huge, like shimmering elements kick in. This is like a complete subversion where Oh Johnny Blue Skies, thank you very much, like really keeps you waiting. And then when it kicks in, the payoff is so wonderful. And really carrying that cosmic country sound forward from A Sailor's Guide to Earth. That's one of my like most favorite things that he does, is the very cosmic sound. He's talented at so many things. He can do bluegrass. He can do this like kind of sludgy progressive rock thing that he did, or like kind of like alternative rock thing that he did with Sound and Fury. But for me, I've always just really loved the kind of cosmic, spiritual, dare I say, somewhat woo-woo Sturgill Simpson. And then, of course, like thematically, we're talking about all you have to do to understand this song is to have disappointed someone. I just finished a great book called The Brief Wondrous Life of Oscar Wilde. And there's a quote right at the end that just hit me right between the eyes because it's just so perfect. And it was, I'm paraphrasing, but it was, Lola was somebody that God gives you when you're young and makes you lose so that you will appreciate that person and the role that they played in your life forever. They make you appreciate everything after that. Like fucking them up and losing them and fumbling them makes you not take anything for granted ever again. And so there's just this like real longing to the song and like regret to the song. It's just super beautiful. And for me is kind of like the crown jewel of the album. If the Sun Never Rises Again is also very dope. I mean, One for the Road is also pretty dope. So then it becomes the problem of like, how do you pick a favorite when this thing is loaded? There's so few songs, but they're long enough. You should have loved it, you fucking jam band guy. 7 minutes plus.
Whoa.
Not long enough for him.
Even Scooter Blues,
Yeah.
Scooter Blues got me.
Yeah, Tanner said he listened to 2 albums on the way over to Maine, and I bet you it was like 3 songs.
I want a 20-minute version of Scooter Blues. Triangle Solo.
A picture.
I listened to 2 studio albums on the way up, by the way, not live.
That makes it better.
I didn't know there was a difference.
Oh, there is.
Oh,
I prefer the studio stuff. Probably a hot take.
You know, it bugs me when sometimes, like, because not everybody knows Fish, but sometimes people be like, "Oh, isn't that where Fish is from?" Because I always talk about being from Vermont, so there's plenty of opportunity for people to do that, and I usually say like, "Oh, I don't think so."
Not sure I've heard of them. Are you referring to the ice cream?
Yeah,
I just assumed that was a whimsical.
No, just tell people. No, you're thinking about Dispatch.
Yeah.
So they met at Middlebury and just deflect it.
With their song, The Colonel.
Yeah.
Hey, great song. Great song.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. There's a few good ones back there.
I've seen them a few times. They're good.
Yeah. Well, I think for Johnny Blue Skies, were there any other burning thoughts that either of you gentlemen had on this?
Yeah, let's do closing thoughts. You want to
kick
us off?
I want to kind of, it's like a multifaceted thing for me because there's been such a window in time away from it when Sturgill was doing the cosmic country stuff, right? You mentioned it, like he did Sound and Fury, and then he went back and revisited the 2 bluegrass albums, revisited some of his older stuff, and then he said that he was like done as Sturgill as well. So like going into this, I had really no idea where it was going to go because he's covered so much ground as Sturgill, and now he's like making this kind of hard pivot. It could be literally anything when you hit play, and it carries with it all the best of the cosmic Sturgill elements. And cosmic country is a genre that I've really gotten into in the last like 5 years, mainly because of Sturgill. He was like my doorway into cosmic country, and it just has the elements of that with like great guitar and a really tight band, and its production is like, yeah, they're super tight, and the production isn't like overproduced, but it's as big as it needs to be. Like you like, especially the string section on Jupiter's Ferry, like it's as big as it needs to be. It doesn't need to be any smaller, it doesn't need to be any bigger. Like it's just like perfect. And it's only 8 tracks in length, and it's so full of good stuff that like it's one of those that you guys often say like there's no fat on it. Like if this is a 12, I'd be interested to see if he comes out with an EP later on of the stuff that might have been left on the cutting room floor. Because generally when that happens for me, it makes me respect the album itself even more. Because sometimes there's great stuff on the cutting room floor, but it just would have like not worked with the album. And then sometimes there's some not so great stuff on the cutting room floor, and you can tell why I wasn't on the record in the first place. Not to slander Deer Tick here, but they're pretty good at that with their EPs.
Yes,
there's like 2 dope songs, and then 3 that you're like, oh, I know why this.
It feels like a trash.
They should have recorded those first because they clearly had too much to drink by the time they get to that.
You can hear like bottles clinking in the background. You're like, well, that right there, that's probably why it's not on it. But no, really, really, appreciate being brought on to talk about this record because it's great. It's one that's going to get heavy play over and over and over again, just like what Johnny Blue Sturgill can do, which is get in your mind, get in your head, and like you can't get him out. And I'll also say that this is the first time I've ever talked about an album or an artist on this program, on this channel, without listening to it with headphones on. All my listens have been in the car with this. And I'm usually a big, like, I need to hear it with headphones. But for this one, I kind of left it for me to do after we talk about it. So I can even, listen for the stuff that you guys have talked about. So it's a little treat for me.
A little something for later.
Well, Tanner, we do a little rating system on this show. Are you familiar with it?
Yes, I give this album 47 Klondike bars.
Well, that sounds like a buy it to me. So
They roughly
so we
cost
do.
the same.
So we do. It's either a buy it, a stream it, or a skip it.
If you skip this album, I'll never talk to you again. This is a buy it. This is a walkout buy it. This is if you have a record store in your town, go there, buy it. If they don't have it, grab the person behind the counter by their shirt and say, you order it.
You fuck.
Yeah. Because this is, it's great. I'm very excited to get this thing on vinyl when it comes out, if it hasn't already come out on pre-order or whatever. But
I think it's out on vinyl already.
Nice. Yeah. Because I have a feeling you drop the needle on this bad boy and you put really good headphones on, and that is the experience to have.
And that is when things start getting fun.
It's lonely in the bump.
Well, what I loved about this album, and I think because I didn't know what to expect from Johnny Blue Skies, I honestly thought we were getting like a real honky tonkin' like rock and country album is kind of where I thought we were going. Because I think that's why he did the Cut and Grass albums, is because he's like, I just need to rip some songs. I think is his whole feeling with that. But getting into like my entry point kind of being Sailor's Guide to Earth with Sturgill, and then not knowing what to expect with this album, and this one kind of being what I'm going to consider to be like kind of a spiritual successor to that album. It really, really just hit every single right note for me. I don't think there was any part of this album where I'd be like, I didn't really like that much. Not even the triangle. I didn't mind it at all. Thought it was great indeed. I'm gonna say buy it on this one. Obviously, I was going to anyway because I've got every other one of his albums. But really, really, I think this is gonna go right up there with the really special ones when it comes to country music and this cosmic country genre that just seems to continue to kind of grow and grow and grow. I think we're looking at just another step in the journey of trying to save country radio.
I also thought that we were going to get like 8-bar blues, Johnny Blue Skies. I thought we might even get like a talkie, like, hello, I'm Johnny Blue Skies. I thought we were potentially getting a character driven piece, like a persona.
Yeah, that
And
would have been
again,
cool as hell.
you walk a fine line with that. It can be corny as fuck or it can be great. Someone like we talked about him last week, Orville Peck has a character, but it doesn't create a distance between you and the music. It's like, nah, this is how it's supposed to be. Like, this makes a ton of sense. So I thought we were going to get like a Sturgill Simpson character for a little while, a Chris Gaines, if you will. But again, I loop back to the beginning where it feels like what this reviewer said, where in putting on this different persona, it's the most honest and the most Sturgill Simpson Johnny Blue Skies has ever been. And being afforded that privilege, you get to see a different side of the lyrical content on this. You get to see the elements of the cosmic country and the introspection that you love. You just kind of get to see a lot of things, recontextualized. He changes like just one element. Again, the lyrics. You can get a Sailor's Guide to Earth level song approached in a completely different way. And then you can get him experimenting with stuff like Scooter Blues, which the first time I'm like, what the fuck? But then once you key in, it's a little more Lebowski and a little less Jimmy Buffett. You go,
yes.
Oh, if Jimmy Buffett was this, I'd be a huge parrot head.
Yep.
But it
Instead,
is what it is, folks.
Instead, you're just a little parrot head.
Yeah. Instead, I got a tiny parrot head. I think this is one of those instances where I always try to be careful of saying like, well, I thought they'd do this. I wanted them to do this. They should have done this. I don't want to be like that. So going into this one, I had no expectations and I didn't come out of it saying like, well, it would have been cool if maybe he thought of doing this. I think this was unexpected. It kept me guessing. It gave me things I recognized. It broadened my horizons as far as Sturgill Simpson goes, and more tools came out of his bag, and it gets better and better as an album as you listen to it. Like through your the singular listening experience as you go track to track, the album experience gets better. And then the more times you revisit the whole thing, the better it gets. So it really is something that like builds on its own strength. I got to give this a buy it.
Attaboy. A triple buy it. Another first out on that line. Yeah, absolutely incredible. Well, I have a question for you, Tanner.
Okay.
Are you familiar with the games that we've begun to play here on That Line podcast?
I watched the one. I watched the What Year Is It one.
Do you remember what any of the clues were?
I don't.
Well, Tanner, would you like to play a game?
Oh no, my God. Yeah.
So I'm going to use one. I just happened to look and see that I had an old one that I put together for Alex. So we've already done this one on the podcast. So I'm hoping that I can trust that you don't care about us and you haven't listened to it.
I mean, I listened to it, but I didn't retain any of them. If that helps.
Perfect. Well, I will refresh you on the rules for Guess That Year. You're going to get 3 guesses. I've got 7 clues. You have no idea how tough it was to get 7 up there.
Okay, 7.
Each time I say a clue, you can guess a year, but you only get to do that 3 times. If you're wrong, we skip to the next clue. You can pass to the next clue. I've tried to organize these a little bit in order that it's going to get a little easier as you go. So the earlier you get it, the better you're going to look. Do you understand the rules, Tanner?
So I only get 3 guesses.
Yes, because you're gonna with the guess the year, you're gonna tend to zero in on the era pretty quickly.
3 guesses per clue, 3 in
3 guesses. So I'm only
trying to
the
go
first
3 for
clue.
3, but he's gonna give 7.
Yes.
He's got 7 clues. You have up to 3 uses of guessing the year. So if
All
you
of my
go-
clues are from the same year.
Oh, okay. Sorry. There we go. Done. Easy.
Yeah.
There we go. Okay.
It's
Perfect.
up to you
I
to
thought,
figure
I
out
was
what
like, wait a minute. 7
it's up,
different years.
it's up to you to
Vicious
figure out what
books.
year it is.
Okay. Okay.
When
okay.
you
I fully got it now. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you ready to begin, Tanner?
I'm ready. I'm
Okay,
ready.
clue number 1. Lyle Lovett suffers a broken collarbone in an accident while riding his motorcycle in Mexico. The accident prevented Lovett from attending the Grammy Awards. He won 2 awards.
Pass.
Okay.
Sorry,
the
Lyle.
The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame opens in Cleveland, Ohio, United States of America.
$1992.
Jerry Garcia of the Grateful Dead passes away of a heart attack.
1995.
Damn it. I should have skipped that one. Talking to a Fish fan about Jerry Garcia.
August 95.
Well, it was
August.
1995. Yeah, he got it.
I
I'll
don't
give
know
you
the-
the
I don't
other.
know
I'll
the
give you
date
the other
either.
clues here to see if it's something you would have gotten.
Okay.
Tejano singer Selena is shot and killed by Yolanda Saldivar, her former personal assistant and former fan club president.
I wouldn't have got the year, but I would have known it was mid. I would have known a window of where it was based off that clue, but I wouldn't have guessed on
Oasis
that one.
released their single Wonderwall.
Yeah. That's a good one because it's in between album releases, so that's good.
There's a
good
few
clue.
more about Hootie and the Blowfish releasing Hold My Hand, hitting the US top 10 for the first time. The Rednecks' Cotton Eyed Joe coming out. My favorite clue from this one, though, was the Backstreet Boys debut single, We've Got It Going On, debuted on September 11th. Perhaps an omen of things to come.
They thought that was their day. Little did they know.
Little did they know.
95, wild year.
Yeah.
Wild year.
The Lyle Lovett thing is a very good clue. That's a very, I don't want to say it's fun because it involves him getting mangled, but it's a very good clue.
He survived. He's fine.
Yeah, he's fine.
I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure every time we've played this game, it's involved a mangling. Billy Idol got mangled last week when we
Mhm.
played this game. I'm pretty sure I did one. I don't think it was Travis Tritt or Jason Aldean. I can't remember who it was.
Well, but those guys probably should get mangled.
they're probably, yeah. But whoever it was, Brad Paisley, I don't know, but it was about some country guy who got wasted and tried to fight the cops and got naked and pissed on himself or something.
Morgan Wallen?
What's that?
Morgan
Sounds
Wallen?
right. Yeah, that was last
He was
week.
in his
I think.
own driveway. He could say
Yeah.
the word.
Quick aside on the Morgan Wallen thing. We were out at camp this year. I was trying to tell a friend of the pod, Mitch, about how good Zach Bryan is. And I was like, he's amazing. Like, he's like amazing, like poet, lyricist, like it's everything. He's like, yeah, I just needed one that got drunk and threw the chair off the building. I was like, no, no. I mean, maybe, but not that chair.
Oh, well, Tanner, it was a pleasure to have you on for episode 151. And you can find all those games we play, all those other albums we've talked about. This is the only intervention, so you won't find any more of these. But Alex, is there a spot they can find the rest of that junk?
Well, if you want to go get them, Jacob, you want to show them albums, I tell you where you got to go. You got to go to youtube.com/C/out on that line. You got the album reviews, the main podcast, the main fare, shall we say. You have the reaction videos. By the way, Jeff, you're up this week. You got to do a reaction video. We got the reaction videos. We have the single series. Called out, motherfucker. Outrageous moments like this can only happen in one place. And you need to subscribe. You need to turn your notifications on. You need to smash the like button. And you need to leave comments. And where are you going to do it? Who are you going to call? youtube.com/C/out on that line. Folks, it's not difficult. We talk about this every single week. Get it through your fat, dumb head. I don't have the Skimbo Lounge right now to take my aggression out on people, so I'm doing it on you. It doesn't feel good, but I'm doing it at youtube.com/C/out on that line.
Ah, that was beautiful as always. Until next time.